So, first and foremost, what is good, y'all? It's your boy Lux. And on this video on YouTube today, I kind of want to go over really what identifying like the real problem in your business. And I kind of foreshadowed this video. I know I missed a week, was really busy, at least with creating the program. So sometimes shit happens like that. But we're back on this week, and I'm willing to bet you this one is well worth the wait because we have a lot of shit to get into. But really like I said, early in the week, I kind of forecasted this video a little bit, posting on my story on Instagram, really about the misconception about what is really going on in barbers' businesses. Of course, I showed you guys the diagram of smaller inputs to create bigger outputs, whereas larger inputs create smaller outputs, and really that's how the barber industry is really formed right now and really existing. A lot of barbers I hop on calls with to get in the Elevated Mentorship program, a lot of barbers that I just even talk to in the DMs, a lot of their problems reside around doing a lot of work for minimal results, and thinking like kind of at a dead end. Like most people, like they don't like fuck bro, like I'm doing a shit ton of work, like the more work that I do, like I'm gonna fucking kill myself. It's not worth that. But barbers almost like kind of wave the white flag almost at a certain point in time. They say, I give up. I'm just gonna stay here. I don't need to go ahead and work any harder because that's the only thing that I or the barber associates growth with is more work. When really that's not it at all. So really want to kind of go over what you should be focusing on and really identifying the real problem. Most barbers, when I talk to them, at least, they're of course wanting to do a plethora of things, right? Like it's actually quite hilarious too. When I get on these Q&A calls with students, even that's in Elevated Mentorship, I'll just listen to them talk for like 5 minutes straight, about what's going on. And then I kind of ask, so what's your question? Because there's no question being asked in there at all. Or even when I hop on calls with barbers, typically the first thing I always, ask is, well, what's your problem? What's going on with your business, right? What's going on with your career? And they'll go on for like another 10, 15 minutes just telling me all about it. But telling me about, how the shop owner's a dick. Their town is cheap. They live in a small apartment. Tons of just a bunch of other bullshit, right? The owner doesn't allow them to cut hair from certain time. They're on commission. All this other shit that really, I'm like, cool, okay, so what's the problem? You got your baggage out of the way, you got your complaining out of the way, what's the problem? And I think barbers actually have a hard time like identifying a problem because there's a bunch of going on and frustration. Like literally that's what it is, just and not a whole lot of cool, I got this problem, this is what I must do or try, and let's see what this result is. Because if they did, they would actually start getting some damn results. Again, barbers will go ahead and tell me, well, I'm working on building a website, working on building products, working on, I've heard some crazy shit on these calls, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? So, really the problem that I kind of dissected, it always comes back to this. I'm like, so you're not making any money? And they're kind of like, what do you mean? Like, I'm making like $6,000 a month. I'm like, well, then why do you want to go ahead and do this, and this? Or they may say, they even some barbers we hop on calls with are making $10,000 a month. Like, what do you mean? I'm making money. I'm like, well, then why do you want to do everything else? You're making money. And they kind of pause for a second and they're like, oh, that's a good point. Or just even barbers who are making $2,000 a month. It doesn't have to be something substantial, but we see it all around the board of what barbers make, and still, this is still a very core problem. They're just not making any money. And they want to go ahead and thinking that, they want to blame other things of like, oh, I'm not making money. Must be the town I live in. Must be it. Gotta move. Gotta get the fuck up out of here. They think it's a website. Gotta build a website. Gotta do all this shit. And then they go ahead and do it, and they get the same exact result. And they're kind of just left dead end, no result, nothing has happened. When having a website wasn't the issue, or not having a website was not the issue. Not being in whatever town you just moved to was not the issue. The issue was you were still not making money, and neither of that directly affects those things. And yet everybody still thinks that, which is fucking crazy. You fucking psychos, dude. I tell my elementary students all the time, student, like my students, I just like, bro, the industry's crazy, bro. Like thinking that this shit is actually what it is. To be quite honest, it's just barbers don't have a profitable business. If you're making if you had a profitable business, you would not be worried about. I mean, of course, you would want to grow your business, but you wouldn't be in this fucking panic attack to be going off and doing something else, which most barbers are in. So, you know, I've even said in the story prior in my Instagram story, you know, we track a lot of metrics in Elevate Mentorship. We do a lot of things that are very unconventional, and spearheading, like really understanding this new understanding of what the industry needs to go towards. And I think a profitable business model or a profitable barbering business needs to be like the core foundation, which most barbers aren't. And that's not, I don't think that's bad on anybody. I mean, I didn't have a profitable business for a very long time as well too, because to be quite honest, nobody like really stressed this. Everybody wants to stress how to fade a hair, how to get a blurry fade, what products to add, what services to add. Nobody talks about having a profitable business. Maybe because they don't have one either. I don't know, right? I can't speak on that, but it's kind of crazy to at least see for a mass part of the industry who, you know, thinks that, okay, again, like I'm not making money, it must be my haircuts. No, if you're not making any money, it's obviously you don't have a profitable business. So tell me please what a haircut, you know, working on your skills on a haircut will do. It just sounds like you need to actually just be making profit in the first place. And I think for a lot of barbers, this goes back to just a little bit of like our background in general, right? Like I'm a college dropout. I didn't go to college and just kind of defaulted to barbering. I think a lot of us do. A lot of us kind of default to barbering as like a hustle. And nobody really shows us the ropes of how to maneuver in this industry to create a profitable business because, you know, the OGs or whoever, you know, was in the shop who's been cutting for a while obviously has dominance or has pull or say so in what you should be doing, yet they're charging the same fucking amount that you are, which doesn't make any sense. They're literally like trying to tell you exactly what to do. They don't charge any different than you. So, and people take this. I mean, I did the same shit. You know, people who were charging $40 who I thought was like doing it in the industry, they weren't charging any different than me. I was like, why am I going to listen to you then, right? And I think a lot of barbers have to start looking at truth and so I have to start looking at like, okay, cool. Who's actually making money in this bitch? Because I know this motherfucker ain't. But yet we just kind of go around with eyes over, like our hands over our eyes, just kind of saying it's literally like whoever is willing to speak up and say something is gonna be like represent like, oh, that must be it. You said something. Somebody finally said something. Because nobody really is I don't think anybody really knows what to do, to be quite honest. And that's just that's my personal opinion from my experience in being in the industry and cutting hair. You know, until I was charging $200 per haircut. It just all the bullshit, all the advice I used to get didn't help one bit. Like what I'm gonna show you in terms of like how to calculate profit per cut and everything of that actually got the ball rolling for me in the right direction. It wasn't how to like cut hair better. It wasn't like adding more services. It wasn't doing all this other bullshit. And yet it's still widely accepted as that's the norm. And I think that's the biggest issue with the industry and the barber industry. And that's what we're trying to combat. We're like Elevated Mentorship. My vision for this thing is to really be on a mission to transform this industry to actually one that's actually very highly respected in business, right? Not just something. I mean, I remember telling people, you know, that I cut hair, and they almost looked at me like, "Oh, you poor kid, you cut hair for a living." All right, and I think a lot of people like experience that too as barbers, right? Even when I told people, "Oh, I'm not cutting hair anymore, I'm retired," like, thank God, finally you left the industry, finally you stopped cutting hair. I'm like, okay, but that's how a lot of people view our industry, and I think it's the level of mediocrity that's allowed to get by is like a mental virus, and it's it can't go on anymore. So I think for us, we really have to go ahead and take charge of really what the fuck we're making, really what are we doing, you know, in terms of lower level thinking, and really like elevate ourselves to a new standard of business model. So for us, you know, especially in Elevated Mentorship, like I said, a lot of what I teach my students is really rethinking exactly the foundational aspect of mental models, how to think, systemizing like their approach, and really understanding how to be in the service industry just in general. Right now, I mean, you could literally probably with what we're doing, you could probably even replicate it in the hairstylist industry without a doubt. Right? I think just being in the service industry in general, people feel like I have to give more. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I don't care like if you keep on well, I used to get my eyebrows and I do it myself, but like the lady who would do my eyebrows would be giving me a massage and doing my teeth and the teeth whitening and shit like that, and just for an extra $5, I'd be like, all right, I mean, if you want to kind of sell yourself short, but that's what people do. People in the barber industry do this all day. So like in terms of what the fuck can you actually do about this, right? Because I think, I mean, for a better part of, I think a lot of the content that I put out, especially right now, a lot of people understand like it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, I think, because I don't think many people want to even talk about this for whatever reason. So like really what to do about this, and for a lot of what I'm not going to give you anything that we get for students at all, because that's just not having integrity for them and what they did to go ahead and go through the program. But what I did create is kind of like a I don't even know what to call it, like a sliver off of like minute like thing that we do in our financial tracking, at least, which is what I talked about in this profit per cut type of aspect, right? Like we really want to understand how much do we actually, like in business, it's never about how much you make, but how much you keep. It's always about the profit margin. Because if you don't, I mean, and the only reason I'm kind of giving this is because anybody that hops on a call with me, like in terms of to get into elevated mentorship, we kind of go over these numbers too. And I think this is probably the most eye-opening thing for myself, because I kind of just did it just as kind of like a little like, okay, cool, you're hopping on this call, you scheduled a call, let's go ahead and at least like kind of give you some metrics to give you feedback on your business right now. And I was actually very surprised to see that most barbers, honestly, are probably making about anywhere from like $2 to $7 profit per haircut that they do. Even though, like, honestly, these barbers are charging 40 to 60 bucks already before they come to the program. But they're only profiting about, $2 to $7. And they kind of, I do that metric. I'm like, hey, so I think we have a bigger problem than what you want to be really addressing. The bigger problem is, we need to be making some money. You need to be making some money, because raising prices at like that margin, it's a habitual thing. Like it's a character that you live in and reside in, to be quite honest, of poor spending, terrible tracking. And honestly, most barbers, including myself for a very long time, just used to track our spending in terms of on monthly expenses on just a fucking on the phone, like the little notes section, right? And you just write in some numbers and you're like, I think it's this month, I think this sounds like about right. And that's how we track shit, which is, I mean, it sucks to go ahead and do that for taxes reasons too, but it's just completely inaccurate, and it gives you a very false sense of hope when you see the number, which is like $5,000-$6,000, but in fact you're probably only profiting about, like, honestly, like probably $200-$300. And we see a lot of barbers that come through our program first that are making that, and for us, we really try to get the barbers up to definitely above a $50 per profit per cut margin at minimum. But really, it's all about what you're actually doing outside of actually cutting hair, right? How long, and services also fuck this up too. Like, it's gonna be fucked up if you try to add on more services, because again, if you're not profitable in what you do, just the main thing, how are you gonna be profitable with extra services? Which, again, you'll hear me slander extra services all fucking day long, but that's I mean, I've already done a video on that. I'll probably make another one somewhere down the line. But this profit per cut thing is actually pretty interesting, because instead of really focusing on making whatever you make, the revenue number increase, we're really looking at like the thing that we can control, at least for right now. I mean, I think everybody can control this number, at least right now. That's what I kind of also thought was like the perfect metric to put out there, because a lot of other things, when we kind of see for our barbers in elevate mentorship, when we see the metrics, we can be like, okay, cool. We know we need to focus on this, this, and this more to up these numbers to get them up onto this level. Really, this number, I mean, of course, there's other things that we can do, but the biggest thing that would support is, you don't really need to be an elevate mentorship for this, but it's just really tracking your expenses, right? Really understanding where your money flow is going, because if you're making a certain amount per month, but only keeping a very, like, maybe a couple $100s from that, somewhere in there, something's sucking all this shit out, right? And that's completely controllable, depending on situation wise, of course. But also too, it's very good to at least understand what your profit per cut number is, from the fact that, like, look, some people, you know, especially barbers, we associate a lot of what we do per hour, typically like for a haircut per hour. Please, if you're doing 30-minute haircuts, please get out of that shit. That shit's gonna make your shoulder fall off. You're gonna be fucking idiotic, stupid, and just like a blob by the end of the day, every single day. And your shoulder's gonna fucking hate you too. Please stop doing that. It's not a way to be profitable at all. But if and even those people too, profit per cut, because we're not going off hours. Most people will be like, oh man, my hour's worth this. Really? So how much is your profit per cut? Because we're going off that, it's probably still very, very low with 30-minute haircuts. Forgot what I was gonna say now. Jesus. It'll come back to me. But I mean, we track this number specifically just because, I mean, it doesn't give us a good hold on price raise, but it also gives us a good hold of like, okay, cool. If the margins are good on this number, then we can take on a price raise, because we know when we raise prices, we're actually still gonna be profiting more. It's not, because most people when they raise prices, honestly, they still make the same amount, if not less money, because their profit per cut number never changed. In fact, when they start making more money, when they make more money but not keeping more money, they're not keeping any more, right? They're actually probably losing even more, because their spending habits mentally switch, like, oh man, I'm charging more. I can spend a little bit more on this. Hell yeah, I can do this thing. It's the worst thing. It's getting caught up in this facade of the industry, to be quite honest. And even with that too, you know, I think cutting back on this number, when I started learning this, I mean, I remember one year I went to a barber show, and I talk about this in Elevate Mentorship in terms of like getting caught up in the facade of in this mirage of what it is to be like a poppin' barber. I remember I spent like $2,000 on some shoes, like $14,000, $15,000 on some, no, I think it's flipped around, about $2,000, $2,500 on some jeans, and like another $1,500 on shoes. I barely even wore them. But I think like a lot of barbers honestly try to like stunt like that and try to do that. And I remember like, you know, because I was told like, oh, you gotta look the part, you gotta go ahead, like you buy that and reinforces. I bought it, I'm like, shit makes me feel no fucking different, to be quite honest. Like, it didn't help me at all. It literally did nothing to me except make the image of what it seemed like I was, I guess, better, but internally it didn't help anybody out at all. In fact, it probably just put me back a good couple $1,000s. I'm like, what was the point of this? Like, so I think like even tracking in terms of profit number, like you will really start to see like, you know, exactly, you know, how caught up are you really getting up in this image of like, I hate when barbers say they're a celebrity barber living in like Wyoming, right? But like, you know, they cut like 2 celebrities or like 1 celebrity. And it's like an extra that was in a movie that was 4 years ago. But that's besides the point. Still keeping up with this like facade of just like, come on. Like if you're a barber, we're not rappers. And I think a lot of barbers like think that they're rappers, which is pretty funny. Especially watching like, and I thought I was too, like, you know, you kind of getting that idea, but like honestly, probably like a year and a half ago, I started seeing things. I was like, oh, this is kind of getting weird, because first of all, you're not making, you know, it's all facade, it's all a front, and I hate to burst everybody's bubble. It is. I think everybody, even motherfuckers that you see online, it's kind of a front. Like I hate to break it to y'all. And I'm pretty sure if they even put their numbers in this profit per cut, they would probably be like slapping themselves, probably like return everything that they just bought. And even barbers that go ahead and try to, like, literally I'll have barbers that want to get into the program too. And they're they're honestly like a perfect fit for like what we're looking for, and that they would be getting the results, and they would actually like tremendously improve their life. But because they want to get caught up in the facade of like spending a shit ton of money, buying a lot of shit, buying a couple cars, they're not in the position to invest even in themselves. And it's like, wow, you just kind of fucked yourself. So I think this is a very good metric. I think for everybody, it doesn't matter where you are price wise right now. But it allows you to see, okay, cool. Before I even raise prices, I want to make sure my profit per cut is actually something that's closest to what I charge, because otherwise I'm kind of just fucking myself over. So I'll go ahead and leave that link down below. But basically what you can do with this, right? So you can obviously widen your profit margins. You can obviously be making more money without having to increase prices, or technically making more money, but you'll be keeping a shit ton more, which is the name of the game. It's always a profit number, right? It doesn't matter how much you're making. Like if you're not keeping anything and you can't make moves the way you want to and do the things you want to do from abundance, and you're always living month to month, you're fucked, right? So next thing will be of course, like tracking and iterating this process, right? You want to track exactly what's going on month to month, iterate in terms of what you're spending on or what you're doing maybe in your free time, maybe like what you're doing spending wise, and even taking a deeper look on like, okay, cool, do I really need this or not, right? Because is this for a facade or is this for a result? Because what does this actually get me at the end of the day? Why am I actually even going with this right now? Because that profit per cut, I'm telling you, once you kind of see that number start going up, you are doing something fucking correct with that. And then again, like if you don't understand this number, or this number is way too low, it doesn't even matter if you're going to raise prices or not, because honestly, you're just probably going to start losing even more and more money because your habits haven't changed. When you raise a price, it's not just raising a price, it's changing habits, and changing habits drastically, because when you're making more money, literally that could be the worst thing for any barber probably out there right now, because if your profit per cut is stupidly low, you're fucked still. And if not even more fucked, because now you have more cash flow coming in that you're making, and you're spending even more each month on whatever that is, on image, on lifestyle, whatever that may be. I'm all about simplicity now, right? I probably wear the same thing, not like literally the same things, but I kind of wear like the same aspect of clothing. Like I'm pretty fucking simple right now. I kind of like got out of that idea thinking, because it doesn't make you money. It doesn't allow you to keep money so you can make moves later on down the road. I think everybody, the whole reason why you're even working is not to supply yourself for a lifestyle right now, but also to be able to make and put yourself in a profitable position later on down the road, whether it be family. Hell, most barbers in our program have fucking families that they're trying to have more time and more vacations with, because to be quite honest, most barbers don't even take a vacation. Most barbers take maybe a 2-day vacation once every like 3 years, and have to work, like are literally glued to their chairs the rest of the time there, which is sad. And it's because of this profit per cut number. So really, I'll leave the link down below for that. And in that video, it'll be a link. It'll be a link, and then there'll be like a breakdown video, because I don't just want to give you the spreadsheet and then you'll be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? So once you click the link, it'll take you to like I'm still like building it right now, but it'll be like a video page. And then you can go ahead and just watch the video first. And then the sheet will be a Google sheet. So make sure you have like a Gmail account or a Google account. That way you can upload it, and then you have your own personal file. Make sure you make a file of your own. That way you kind of have one, and that'll be yours. That's kind of like my free gift to you, just for watching all these videos and staying up to date with the content, because I know this is very different content. I'm actually thinking of repurposing a lot of my older YouTube content, and redoing a lot of the voiceovers in terms of still putting in a lot of game on them, because I think a lot of people like what you guys. I was reading some feedback from you guys, and even some DMs. A lot of barbers still like to see tutorials, and for me, I'm always like student or barber obsessed. So it's like, okay, cool. If that's in like your best interest, even though I don't agree with it, I might as well go ahead and repurpose, at least with some game behind it too. That's more up to date with what you need to be doing right now. So we got that to look forward to as well. And then also too, if you are interested in getting into the Elevated Mentorship Program, by all means, you can set up a call with me. I'll leave that link down below as well too. You can set up and schedule a call with me and see if you're a good fit. You will have to go through like an application process, see if your application is accepted. And then we can go ahead and get you started right then and there. But other than that, that is it for this video. Nice, short, quick, and sweet. Make sure to go ahead and, like I said, I'll leave the link to the, what did I call it? I called it the profit per cut tracking sheet. That was fucking simple. So I'll leave that down below, that link. That'll take you to like a little web page. You can go to watch the breakdown video of that and then download it and start kind of tracking everything for yourself and kind of see exactly what's going on with your business and kind of have a better view of, okay, cool. What am I actually doing? What is my business actually telling me? And then, you know, of course, if it's too low, if the number is stupidly low, which warning, it probably will be at first, start cutting out massively expenses. Start figuring out where you can cut expenses out at, because that will be your best friend. And then don't get caught up in this fucking image or facade that most of the industry is living in. All right. So with that, y'all, that does it for this week's video. Again, we're gonna stay on date with every single week, unless I get too busy again. Because again, we're about doing shit, not about talking about shit. So sometimes, hey, look, I might take a little hiatus just to do shit, but we'll be back on as always. All right. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video.